Hey folks, BlackCross here, and it's been a long while, hasn't it? It's been a long while. I've actually decided to look it up just out of curiosity. It's been 4 years, a little over 4 years actually, since I've done a game room tour. And since then, a lot has happened. In terms of the positioning of things, in terms of how much I've collected, which I have a bad deception of and stuff. But for the most part, I've decided to sit down and rearrange my game room. Now, there was two main reasons. Reason number one was, well, as you can see, moving hasn't happened. That was the original plan. I was wanting to move out of the apartment, and that's been a year ago. And nothing's happened. I would like to talk more details in regards to that, but I feel like that should be holded until another time altogether, just so that way you can kind of get the idea of how trying to buy a house is like and stuff like that. I feel like that's an entire experience altogether that needs to be discussed and everything, but this is a tour room video, so that's what this is. I'm going to be basically showing you the entire game room, showing you my collection, showing you all the different places and stuff like that. If you've seen my last video from 4 years ago, there's some stuff that are still technically somewhat the same, but then there's a lot of different stuff. For example, technically in that video, that was before I rearranged things to where I could have it fixed up for like Twitch stream and stuff like that. There was a point in time where I was kind of like thinking to myself, you know what? I want to have it to where I can actually look at Twitch stream and look at the gameplay at the same time and not having to go back, forth, you know, stuff like that. And all honesty, I like the position that it's been in so far, but I never did a game room tour update in regards to that. Now, record, it wasn't like a major change, it was more of like different positioning and stuff like that. But in terms of like the layout, which I'm sure some of you probably noticed, the bed is slightly different. And also, too, the walls are slightly different, which we will get to those during the tour itself. There's a lot of story that's going on in terms of, like, what made this possible. And this has actually been, like, I don't know, this kind of been like a year progression type thing. In terms of, like, getting it all put together and fixed up, it only took me, like, a little over a month. And the only reason why was because I was waiting on certain frames and stuff to come in and everything like that. And yeah, that's basically the only thing. I was waiting for frames and everything of that nature. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the game room tour, and I'll get to all the stories in regards to each individual section once we get to them. So first and foremost, I want to go ahead and talk about this door right here. This is technically the door that leads to the bathroom. Nothing's really changed in the bathroom except obviously no lights. But it's not really a big difference anyway. The biggest thing though is that I've added just a couple things, you know, like this little postcard here of Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. I've got that on top of my original poster that I got with the game. And then most recently, got the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary poster thing, and it also has 358 over 2 days. Felt like that went with it pretty well. Right here we have a little bit of a mismatch here. We have some books, Gundam figures, and since my last video, a whole crap ton of pop figures. Just a megaton of pop figures. More so than I think that needs to be mentioned. So right off the back here, this is actually one of the biggest changes that's happened in the game room since the original video. For starters, number one, a lot more Funko Pop figures. Way more. My collection of Funko Pop figures has grown. And that's only because Funko actually knows how to pick what character themes and stuff like that in order to make them into Funko Pops and stuff. And because of that, I've collected certain ones that I've wanted to get and stuff like that. And I do plan on doing a video in regards to my Funko Pop collection and stuff. But for the time being right now, you're seeing it as it is. It's kind of packed, crammed full and stuff like that of different pop figures and stuff. But I'm sure some of you with a keen eye notice that it's also a different shelf altogether. And you be correct, it is a different shelf. Because the original shelf that I had broke a couple of months back. Like, this was back in, like, March or April, I want to say. Probably even May. I don't remember. It happened some time ago this year. I know that much. So, what had happened was that I was getting up from my bed and everything like that. And in that little corner right through there, I usually have a fan going and everything like that. There's also different cords, not just from the fan cord, but also from the mic cord as well. And I had tripped over that cord and had landed right into the shelf. Now, here's the thing. When I landed into the shelf, I was able to stop myself by basically grabbing onto the shelf. But due to my weight, that was enough to break a piece of the shelf off, and thus a bunch of Funko Pop figures fell. And I was trying to fix it, but apparently upon me falling into the shelf, that was enough to fracture something within the shelf itself. And so after I was trying to fix that first piece of the shelf that broke off, the entire shelf, the top part of the shelf, fell inward. And when I say it fell inward, where it was positioned, it was right behind the TV, my flat screen TV. It fell behind it, and the TV fell off. And, well, as you can kind of imagine, this made me very irritated and very angry. And I was so ticked off, but after like probably about 5 minutes or so of trying to calm myself down and stuff like that, I tried to pick stuff up and everything like that, you know, kind of looking at damage and everything like that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to replace some of these figures and stuff like that. To which later on I found out that really, in all honesty, most of the damage was mostly scuff from paints and stuff. So I was able to use a technique that I was able to find on YouTube and stuff like that about cleaning and maintaining pop figures and stuff. Which, by the way, if you ever collect Funko Pops and you have like different things that you want to fix and stuff like that, look up these videos. They're actually quite helpful. Some of them are actually very helpful in my opinion. But one of them was like carefully grab a magic eraser and just kind of rub over the mispainted spots and stuff. And that did the trick. And it didn't harm the Funko Pops whatsoever, which that was a good thing. So technically, none of the Funko Pops technically got damaged. If nothing else, all of them are fixed now. Now, that leaves the TV in question. TV is actually surprisingly okay. Now, we make fun of flat screen TVs all the time, basically being easy to break and stuff like that. But this thing fell off and fell right into the floor, which you would think it broke the TV. You think that's it, the TV's gone, I'm going to have to get a new one. No, it survived, which surprised the heck out of me. So while you look at the screen and it looks slightly damaged, you turn on the screen, picture's perfect. Like, it's perfectly fine. There's no clear indentions or anything like that. No proof of like imprints or stuff. It's perfectly clear. So the fact that the TV wasn't completely damaged is still usable right now. And all my Funko Pops are fine. The only thing was just the shelf. And for a while, I set the shelf to look like this. Basically trying to salvage the shelf as best as I can to kind of put it together and stuff. But the more I looked at it, the more I hated it. Like, I hated how it looked. I hated how trashy it looked. It looked like... I don't know how to explain it, but it looked like a hoarder's shelf, you know? They wasn't able to put the shelf together, but they just decided to use random parts just to hold it up and everything like that. And while that did the job for a time period and stuff, I absolutely hated how it looked. So I decided, you know what, I want to buy myself a new shelf and do something with it and stuff like that, fix it up and everything, make it look better. And this shelf I got from Amazon. The only reason why I got this from Amazon was because the shelf that I normally would get from Walmart was sold out. Like, they hadn't had any for months. So I was like, okay, either I wait forever for a single shelf that may never come in, or I just go ahead and order one. And as I was trying to order one, I found one on Amazon. So I use that shelf and I reuse some of the shelf pieces. You know, I cut them up to size to where they would fit inside the shelf, and I was able to fit the majority of my Funko Pops and stuff. So that worked out quite nicely. So I have to say, in terms of the overall hassle that I had to go through for that part, I would have to say it pays off. It paid off. We also have a few little pop figures in their original boxes, mostly because I ran out of room and I felt like, you know what, I've still got some of the boxes, I'll just put them in there, and really kind of works out real, in all honesty, not gonna lie. We've got a little bit of a small shrine for Iron Man stuff. You're probably confused as to what this thing is, but I do plan on talking about this at a later point in time, but there's actually a model kit subscription service that I'm subscribed to that involves Iron Man Mark III. So at some point I'll talk about it later. I want to go ahead and talk about the Iron Man for a little bit. Again, I will do a separate video talking about my experience with this and stuff like that, but I want to go ahead and say this right now. This Iron Man figure, whenever I first looked at it and stuff, I thought this was like a cool ideal. The fact that you can get a 24-inch tall, almost metallic figure. Like, the majority of it is metal, pure metal. And it's high quality, it's very nice, it's really, really good. But there is a complaint that I have, and that is it's very expensive. I mean, that's obvious, right? It makes perfect sense considering the fact that it is going to be 24 inches tall by the time this is done. And it's proof. I mean, the thing is huge. The head's huge, the leg pieces, the arms. I'm right now working on the other leg right now in terms of where I'm at in the subscription service and stuff like that. But it is very expensive in the sense of, like, for starters, number one, you get 4 parts every subscription. Every month you get a set of 4 parts, and you're basically putting them together. You're assembling it and stuff like that. Now you're saying to yourself, oh, 4 parts. Okay, so say, like, for example, you're getting a whole leg piece in, like, one subscription or service, right? No. One arm piece alone took me like 3 separate subscriptions. They are very meticulous, they're very fine detailed, they're very small pieces, sometimes there's even big pieces going on with it as well. Like, there is so much that goes on in terms of building this thing. It is insane, but it takes forever to get through one section of a piece of Iron Man and stuff. That is almost expensive. And keep in mind, each one is like $60. Each subscription is $60, which is 4 parts to each subscription. Now, record, you do get free gifts that go along with it and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say this was a complete waste, but some would say this was probably like the biggest money pile that I've ever put into, which is very understandable. I would agree. And if anyone who's ever done this will agree with me as well. Is it worth it in the end? Yes. Would they do it again? Absolutely not. It takes forever to get it fully complete and done, and you get very little progression in terms of actually getting it put together and stuff like that. Like right now, I am at like over a year with the subscription service, and look where I'm at. Now, record, I don't have a leg piece set out because technically the leg piece itself is separated into 3 different sections. So I imagine later on within the subscription, they'll give out details of like, okay, here are several other pieces that you need to put together and stuff like that. But until then, it gets very lengthy and it gets very, very tedious to have to like put a little bit at a time together and wait so long for the next one to come out and stuff. It's like painstakingly insane. But in terms of like what I would have to say, it's okay for what it is. Unless you have like a lot of money and you have a lot of like spending expense or something like that, this could be worth it, but I wouldn't recommend it to every person. Got some more, as you can imagine, Kingdom Hearts stuff. Little clock, little 3D foam keychain characters. They stopped making them for some reason, so Wish they would continue it on, because they came so close. So flippin' close to making a complete Organization 13. Almost! Please continue, if you don't mind. We have my TV and TV stand here. Of course, this little thing here is my mic that I use. It usually just stands over here on the sideline, but whenever I'm using it, it gets scooted over to my desk. We have my computer desk, along with a few commodities here and there. Finally got to display some of my Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary stuff that I got. In all honesty, it looks good. This is technically a jersey case, so I put the Kingdom Hearts jacket in it, and there was just enough room to put some of the sketch postcards on it, and it makes it look nice. Over here you see the Kingdom Hearts 20th Anniversary Famitsu magazine. Works out very nicely. This section right here alone is probably one of my most favorite spots in the room. Number one, because where I'm sitting at right now is literally what I'm looking at right now. This section right here in the corner where my computer is and stuff like that, I am looking at it right now, and I can look at it anytime I want to. It is so easy for me just to look up and go, gosh, can you believe it's been 20 years since the game first started, and I've been with it for 20 years. It's just so weird to look it up and look at all of it and stuff like that, but it looks so freaking cool. I just love how it all looks. Again, it took so long to get some of these frames in and stuff like that, mostly because they're relatively expensive. Like, the jersey case itself is like 60 bucks. The frame for the magazine itself was like 30 bucks. But everything else wasn't too pricey. It was just more or less having to buy them and then wait for them to be shipped and stuff like that. When they finally came in, they looked fantastic, and it was well worth in my opinion. So I have to say, in terms of how it looks right now, it's the best that I ever could have asked for. I honestly am glad that it looks as good as it does. And I hope it looks good to you, because I love just staring at it right now. Like, I'm looking at it right now, I'm looking up and everything like that, and I'm just like, gosh, I'm so glad that I did that. And that little gray box there is actually a record player that I finally got to set out and use. I finally got to have it set out to where I can use it every once in a while. And right in front of a canvas picture of the ever-mentioned Mount Fuji. It's very nice to have it out there to where I can finally listen to my records. I don't have a big record collection, but it's pretty good. It's just a small little thing that I listen to from time to time. Yes, I've been collecting records. You would not believe it, but I have been collecting records. Now, you might be asking yourself, oh, do you have Led Zeppelin, or do you have, like, any type of heavy metal stuff or whatever? No. I am literally the worst kind of hipster you can ask for. I got Frank Sinatra, for crying out loud, already. I mean, here's my collection of vinyl records. It's not a big collection, but it's still a collection regardless. But I like just having it on and just listening to it and everything like that. I've had it for literally over a year. I've had this record player for over a year now, and I've never really gotten much use out of it. But now that I have it set and where it's at, I can use it whenever I want to, and I've been using it quite a lot. I've wanted a dedicated spot for my record player, just to where I can have it on the fly and just listen to music and stuff. It's just a nice feeling. And it's funny too, now that I think about it. I ordinarily wouldn't have gotten a record player, much less records, to begin with. But for some reason, over time, I just kind of adapted to one to collect some records and stuff. And it's nice. It's a nice feeling. I don't know what it is. I think it might be an age thing, because right now I'm in my 30s, so maybe as I get older, I might get even more hipster-like? Who's to say? I don't know. But I like it. It's very nice. It's very peaceful. Plus, I get to look at one of my canvas pictures that my mother got me for Christmas last year. I hadn't had a chance to display them any and all, but now I can actually safely say that I finally got to display one of them, which I also have another one that I've got on display, which we'll get to in just a little bit. So, back to the tour itself. A few little extra stuff here and there, along with a Liger Zero in front of two other figures that I have, one of them being a Cumplaw. Some more Funko Pops, being that of the Avengers Assemble. We have Terriermon and Eevee sitting there, along with some other figures that I couldn't really display evenly, sadly. Then we have my Sora figure collection. Just a humongous amount. A few of the Pixel Pals in the background. Every once in a while I'll turn them on, but I do one day want to set them out to where they can be seeable. But for right now, they're good right there. A few extra stuff here and there. More figures. But especially more PS4 games. More Deadpool, as you can clearly see. And not the biggest compared to most YouTubers with their Switch collection, but a pretty decent size. But the biggest thing is a lot of DVDs. Mostly older cartoons. Mostly Snoopy, as you can see. But I still got some of my anime DVDs and stuff. And we still have the Trio PS2 game. I love those guys. And then real quickly I want to show you a little add-on here. Mostly because I've decided to deck out this section for obvious reasons. You see the Final Fantasy 15 set that I've collected. It's still a good game in my opinion. Is it as good as the hype that it's been? No, but it's still a good game in my opinion. And this next shelf was the whole reason why I redecorated. My Kingdom Hearts shrine, well, one of, but the biggest one, really, once you think about it. Got this whole thing set up, and in all honesty, it looks really good. Stands out nicely too, thanks to the light. This was the first and main thing in terms of like shelf sections that I wanted to put together and stuff. I literally said to myself, I want to make a shelf space for Kingdom Hearts. And I thought about it for a long time, and I just said to myself, screw it, I'm gonna make the space to where I can make for my Kingdom Hearts stuff and everything like that. And I'm glad I did that, because there's a lot of Kingdom Hearts collectible stuff that I have technically that doesn't get to stand out, that doesn't get to be showcased and stuff like that. And I slowly kind of put it together and everything like that. It took the longest, mostly because I was just kind of like piecing it together. I was looking through all of my collectibles that I have and stuff like that, just piecing it together and everything, and it slowly built itself to look like as it does now. Like for example, the Sora piggy bank I got from a retro game store. I got the Gummy Ship Lego thing from a website that was selling Kingdom Hearts stuff, and I just saw that and I was like, literally a Gummy Ship Lego piece. And admittedly, I feel like if I was to do like a free roam Lego piece, I would probably do something differently than what they did. But for what it is, I actually like it. It's really cool just to see a Lego Gummy Ship. And especially since I do love the Gummy Ship missions within the series and stuff like that. And then you have the two other figures, the Sora and Kairi in their throne seats and stuff like that. There's a story with that one. I want to go ahead and talk about this real quickly. Mostly because, for those that are not familiar, this was technically part of a raffle set. they were doing like a little raffle thing where you was able to draw out like a little card or whatever, get like a random letter, and whatever random letter you got whatever came available and stuff like that. And there's a list of stuff that you could have gotten. And I looked at it, and while there was like one or two things that I would have liked to have gotten, I thought to myself, you know, I'd rather just buy them. I mean, if it's available, I would rather buy them. I know in terms of eBay prices that people are putting up, they're kind of insanely stupid. Like, literally, they're insanely dumb. But I thought to myself, if they have an option to where I can buy a Sora and Kairi throne separately, I'm doing it. And they did. Now, record, they were $50 a piece, but in my opinion, compared to having to draw out a random $10 ticket and pray and hope to the gotcha gods that I would eventually get what I want, it would not be worth it at the end. To me, I feel like at that point I would be spending more than I should on random stuff that I don't really need. So instead, I just wanted to go ahead and get the figures, to which I did. And oh my gosh, when I got them, I couldn't be any more happier because they look so flipping good. Like, the pictures online do not do it justice. Like, once you finally get the figure alone, all of a sudden, any regret that I might have had for making the purchase that I did, I was like, I have no regrets. Like, if you see my unboxing video for 20th anniversary and stuff like that, I had mentioned that I was kind of like in financial trouble, which that was kind of a joke. I'm not in financial trouble. It is just I got a little careless with my spending and everything like that. But I have to say, I have no regrets, especially since now I got to display them and everything like that. And they look amazing. Like, again, this wall section that I'm looking at is my favorite. And then just being able to look at that every once in a while as I'm walking through and stuff, getting to see that and just be like, I'm so glad I finally did that. I'm so glad I did that. That made me happy the most. And then down here we have an entire plethora of Bring Art figures, along with a few other figures from various things, like the Diamond collection thing, along with the Bandai Namco ones. But for the most part, it's about complete. Not necessarily 100%, but it's getting there, considering Nominee will be released shortly soon. This next shelf section is literally what I would call the Bring Art character cast section. Even though technically some of them are not Bring Arts, as I mentioned in the video, some of them are from different segments and stuff like that. For example, Pete, Jip Dale, the Soldier, and Shadow Heartless come from one segment, and then Donald and Goofy comes from another segment. But for the most part, the majority of it is all Bring Art character figures and stuff. And with the exception of Nominee and two other figures that I want to get, it's pretty much complete. That shelf section alone is pretty much complete. And I've got the Japanese versions of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 Final Mix on there, along with the 20th anniversary poster frame and everything like that. And that sets it off. That sets it off so beautifully and so well done, in my personal opinion, that I couldn't be any happier. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm glad that I finally got to do this. I'm finally glad that I was able to get this displayed. I got this put together. It just looks so nice. It is so wonderful. I couldn't be any happier if I wanted to. That was the whole reason why I placed it underneath the other Kingdom Hearts stuff, was just so that way I could look at it, you know, just to look at it and admire it and stuff. That's the best part of my personal opinion. Just, I actually have a dedicated shelf space. It's all put together. It looks nice. Previously, I had a set where the record player was and stuff like that, in this little different shelf section and everything. Some people might have seen it on Twitter and stuff, and it looked nice then, but this looks way better. This looks 100% way better than I could have ever asked for. Got some more collectible stuff here from Dark Souls. Can't really see the two statue figures, but Dark Souls 2 and 3 are there. And then we have Final Fantasy Summon figures. One of the ones that I've wanted for so long, Bahamut, that I finally got from Final Fantasy X. Been wanting that for a long time. There's some of my PS2 games along with some other From Software figures. And then we have some Star Wars here. And we have a lot of Cloud figures. Not as much as like the Sora figures, but something that stands out on its own. Small little Pirates of the Caribbean shrine here with the DVD collection set. There we go. The DVD collection set here. And we have Stormtrooper helmet with the Infinity Gauntlet, which still works. I often keep thinking that it needs to have new batteries, but it still holds up pretty well, surprisingly. Got some amiibo figures that Delmar decided to give me. And now, one of the very few things that I wanted to do, and that was to make a whole PlayStation 2 shelf. Now, I wasn't able to fit all of them, but I fit the majority of the PS2 games that I've been wanting to fit on here. In this particular thing, I had done an experiment with this particular shelf. I had bought this one. This was only $40 on Amazon. You're going to see a continuing theme here. I've been buying a lot of stuff from Amazon, obviously. But I bought this shelf on Amazon to experiment with because I liked the shelf setup. And I've seen a lot of people, specifically game collectors and stuff like that, use these type of shelves and everything. And I was like, I like this. I like this setup a lot. But I wonder if I could use it for the Funko Pops. Theoretically, I could. But at the end of the day, it didn't work well. It didn't fit everything that I have. Like I said before, I have a freaking lot of Funko Pops and stuff. But I decided, okay, change of plans. I'm converting this into my PS2 shelf. And as I was putting it together, I was getting it all together and everything like that. I was like, this looks nice. This looks super nice. This almost looks professional in a way, you know? The way the collection looks, how it's lined up and everything like that. It looks so freaking good. And this kind of goes back to my PlayStation Legacy video update that I did, where this is kind of the ideal that I want to use, this shelf. I plan to buy 2 more, maybe even 3 or 4, depending, for my entire game shelf and everything like that, of all the video games that I've collected and stuff. And I want to put the PlayStation 2 games front and center, right in the center of it. Now, again, this is kind of a future project and stuff like that, but this is something that I've kind of got in my head right now. But using this particular style of shelf is definitely the core essential piece. And I have to say, it stands out. It looks super, super good. It definitely helps considering the fact that I've got the little lights thing of the symbols. I've got the bronze trophy. I do plan on getting the silver, gold, and platinum trophy. I know technically PlayStation 2 did not have the trophies and everything like that, but it kind of makes it stand out, really, when you think about it. It stands out pretty well. And as for the picture for the PlayStation 2 symbol, that was something that a friend of mine gave me for a Christmas gift, I want to say? Yeah, it was a Christmas gift. She gave it to me, and I love it. I was wanting to get like a little art piece in regards to the PlayStation 2 or something like that. None of that actually stood out to me, but considering that a friend of mine made this and thought of me and everything like that, it just stands out really, really well. And I was like, you know what? This is going to go with the PlayStation 2 and stuff like that. And once I finally get it fully put together and stuff like that, that's going to be somewhat front and center in terms of like the entire collection wall and stuff like that. But yeah, in terms of like how the shelf looks, how everything looks and stuff like that, this is basically what I want. And this is just one part of it. Obviously, when we finally move, that's whenever it's going to happen. But until then, it's kind of a slow process. Got my Kingdom Hearts 3 fabric poster here, along with my Kingdom Hearts backpack, my Walmart 5-year thing from where I've worked there for 5 years. It's been over 6 years for me, by the way. And this one, I worked so hard to try to get this to fit together and stuff, and I have to say, I'm proud of it. Got the majority of the posters that I got to move around and fix up and stuff. From like the Kingdom Hearts stuff, like my Keyblade sitting in the background and stuff, which really looks nice here. What it does, it looks nice. And then one of the canvas pictures next to the Mount Fuji one that I was able to finally display. This one's my favorite. I just love the sand. Few things hasn't changed really in terms of this corner here. But the biggest change is the bed position. Well, if that light wasn't showing, it would... I guess I can't win, can I? But you can clearly see who is what. I got both of those two autographed signatures from last year's Fanboy Expo. That was a lot of fun. And then we have this dragon fabric thing. And then I got it over my bed here, which is conveniently enough a dragon, as you can clearly see. It just works well. It works really well. Now, in terms of the bed setup, in my previous setup that I had and everything like that, where the bed was kind of setting against that wall and stuff, long way and stuff, I didn't have a lot of leg room as I was coming in and stuff. I literally had just as much of my freaking waist in terms of being able to get through that little section right through there. And in a way, it was kind of hazardous in a sense. Number one, because of the cords, you know, from that incident that I just talked about. But number two, it looked like I didn't have enough room. So part of me thought to itself, what if I turn the bed like this, you know? What if I turn the bed like this? And so I did. And I have to say, I'm happy. I'm happy that it works, and I'm happy because it feels like I've got more room. I've got more room to walk in. I can go through here and be able to look at my collection and stuff. Get into my computer desk. I still have room to be able to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. And stuff. I mean, really, doing this entire rearrangement that I've done feels like I've got more room in the game room. Like before, I felt like it was getting smaller and smaller. But now it feels like I've got a little bit more room than I thought I did. Literally, by the end of the day, I felt like it's not what you have. It's what you do with it. And what you do with it truly does matter. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you have a space that you feel like you don't have enough room, rearrange it, you know, kind of rework it and stuff like that, redecorate and stuff, and see what works. Chances are, you might actually have more room than you think you have. Another Pirates of the Caribbean picture that I got from Fanboy a couple of years ago. And some more Final Fantasy stuff. Right over through here. And here is the full-on zoom of everything. One small thing that I do want to show you real quickly, and that is what it looks like when it's fully put together. It's nicely dimmed. It's not too bright. This one technically lights up as well. If I can find the button. Here it is. Looks pretty nice there too. But yeah. This is the game room for 2022. Overall, in terms of the entire game room and everything like that, this is good. This is where it's going to be like for the next, I don't know how many years until we finally move out into a house and stuff. hopefully not too long. I hope, at least if I have to, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 if needed to be. But I would like to eventually move out into an actual house and actually get like an actual game room put together. My dream game room that I've always wanted. When that will be, I have no clue at this current moment in time, but hopefully someday that will happen. But until then, this setup is good. This is like the best that I could ever ask for. This is literally going to be the game room that I've got that I get to finally look around and admire and enjoy for like the next couple of years. So this is going to be the game room tour for 2002 and potentially 2023 and 24 depending. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below, because I know in the last game room tour, there was a lot of people who were commenting on some of my collectibles and stuff like that. What's your favorite? Let me know in the comments. What is your favorite part of this new arrangement that I put together? Like, what is your favorite out of my entire collection that you've seen thus far? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.